The void was vast and silent, a realm where invaders thought they could conquer without resistance. But they underestimated one thing: Earth. For centuries, humanity had watched as the stars above them burned bright with the legacy of countless civilizations. Yet, when the void's darkest forces descended upon their home, they unleashed a fury no one could predict. As alien fleets filled the skies, Earth fought back, armed with technology and resolve unlike anything the invaders had seen before. Now, humanity's vengeance begins. The stars will watch as the void learns a terrifying lesson: Earth will not kneel. The universe had always been a vast, silent expanse, where stars flickered like distant beacons in the endless night. But beneath that serene exterior, a storm was brewing, a storm that would shake the very foundations of existence. It began in the farthest reaches of the cosmos, where a dark anomaly had been forming for eons. This anomaly was not just a black hole or a collapsing star, it was something far more sinister. It was a rift, a tear in the fabric of space and time, created by the collective suffering of countless civilizations that had been destroyed by an unseen force. This rift, known as the Void, was a manifestation of vengeance itself. As the Void grew, it began to consume everything in its path: planets, stars, and even light. It was a force of nature, unstoppable and relentless. And from this void, a new entity emerged, an entity born from the collective anger and pain of the destroyed civilizations. This entity was known as the Harbinger. The Harbinger was not a being of flesh and bone but a consciousness, a collective mind formed from the memories and emotions of the fallen. It was both ancient and new, wise and vengeful. Its purpose was clear: to exact retribution on those responsible for the destruction of its creators. The Harbinger's first target was Earth. On a quiet night in the year 2025, the people of Earth looked up at the sky, unaware that their world was about to change forever. Without warning, the stars began to flicker and fade, as if something was blotting them out. Then, the sky itself seemed to tear open, revealing a swirling mass of darkness, the Void. From this darkness descended the Harbinger, its form shifting and amorphous, a swirling mass of shadows and light. It spoke not with words but with thoughts, invading the minds of all who gazed upon it. "Your time has come," it whispered into the collective consciousness of humanity. Panic spread like wildfire. Governments scrambled to respond, but their weapons were useless against this otherworldly force. The Harbinger was not a physical entity, it was a manifestation of pure vengeance, an idea given form. As the days passed, the Harbinger's influence grew. It began to twist reality itself, warping the laws of physics and bending time. Cities crumbled, oceans boiled, and the very ground trembled beneath the weight of its power. But amidst the chaos, a resistance began to form. In the ruins of what was once New York City, a group of survivors gathered. They were scientists, soldiers, and ordinary citizens who had lost everything to the Harbinger's wrath. Led by Dr. Elena Carter, a physicist who had studied the anomalies in the fabric of spacetime, they sought to understand the nature of the void and find a way to combat it. "We can't fight this with weapons," Dr. Carter said, her voice steady despite the fear that gripped her heart. "We need to understand it, to find its weakness." The group worked tirelessly, studying the rift in the sky and the disturbances in the fabric of reality. They discovered that the void was not just a physical phenomenon but a psychic one as well. It fed on fear, anger, and despair, growing stronger with each passing moment. "We need to turn its power against it," Dr. Carter concluded. "If we can unite our minds, our collective will, we might be able to close the rift and banish the Harbinger." But this was no simple task. The Harbinger's influence was pervasive, and the resistance members found themselves plagued by nightmares and hallucinations, their thoughts invaded by the entity's malevolent presence. As the void continued to consume the Earth, the resistance launched their final assault. Using a device they had constructed from salvaged technology, they attempted to create a psychic link strong enough to counteract the Harbinger's influence. The device hummed to life, sending a pulse of energy into the sky. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the Harbinger appeared, its form more terrifying than ever. "You think you can defeat me?" It boomed, its voice resonating in the minds of all who heard it. "We don't need to defeat you," Dr. Carter replied, her voice calm. "We just need to close the rift." With a collective effort, the resistance focused their thoughts, channeling their will into the device. The Harbinger screamed as the rift began to close, its form flickering and destabilizing. In a final burst of energy, the rift sealed, and the Harbinger vanished. The Earth was saved, but at a great cost. The damage wrought by the void was immense, and the scars it left would take generations to heal. But humanity had learned a valuable lesson: vengeance, when left unchecked, could consume everything. And only by uniting their minds and wills could they hope to overcome the darkness. Months had passed since the Harbinger's defeat. Earth had begun to heal, its skies once again clear, its cities slowly rebuilding. But the scars remained, both on the planet and in the hearts of its inhabitants. Dr. Elena Carter stood before a vast array of monitors, her eyes scanning the data. The rift had been sealed, the harbinger vanquished. Yet, something gnawed at her. A feeling of unease, a whisper in the back of her mind that told her the battle was far from over. Suddenly, the monitors flickered, and a new signal appeared, a distress call from a deep space probe that had been lost during the initial invasion. The message was garbled, but one word stood out: Harbinger. Elena's heart sank. "No," she whispered. "It can't be." She quickly gathered her team. "Prepare the ship. We're going back. Into the abyss." The team boarded the newly constructed vessel, the Aegis, designed specifically for deep space exploration and combat. As they journeyed into the unknown, the vastness of space seemed to swallow them whole. Days turned into weeks, and still, there was no sign of the Harbinger. Then, on the edge of the known universe, they found it, a massive, swirling vortex of darkness, pulsating with an unnatural energy. "The void." "This is it," Elena said, her voice steady but filled with awe. "This is where it all began." As they approached, the ship's systems began to fail. Lights flickered, gravity fluctuated, and strange whispers filled the air. The Harbinger was here, and it was waiting. The Aegis was pulled into the vortex, crashing onto a barren, desolate world. The team emerged, weapons drawn, ready for whatever awaited them. The Harbinger appeared, its form more terrifying than before. It was no longer just a being of vengeance, it had become the embodiment of the void itself, a creature of pure darkness and despair. "You return," it intoned, its voice a chorus of countless lost souls. "But you cannot defeat me. I am the end of all things." Elena stepped forward, her resolve unwavering. "We won't let you destroy everything we've built." With a roar, the Harbinger attacked, its tendrils of darkness lashing out. The battle was fierce, each strike from the Harbinger tearing at the fabric of reality itself. But the team fought back with everything they had, their unity and determination fueling their strength. In a final desperate move, Elena activated the ship's core, channeling its energy into a massive pulse of light. The Harbinger screamed as the light engulfed it, its form disintegrating into nothingness. The void collapsed, its influence dissipating. The team stood amidst the ruins of the desolate world, breathing heavily but victorious. "We did it," Elena said, her voice filled with relief. But as they turned to leave, Elena paused, looking back at the empty horizon. "Did we?" The question lingered in the air, unanswered.